So faster workflow starts with your company culture, which is an on-purpose thing, right? So here's an example of a shop. Who knows Printed Threads, Brett Bowden's shop? Anybody know him? I took that at his shop, okay? So they actually write the job names on the frames, which I think is a little weird, but that's how they do it there. But the key thing here is that this rack is going to a press for tomorrow's work. So they're burning the screens, they're putting on a rack. How many people here do the 2-screen hustle, bringing the screens to the press with 2 screens in each arm, right? How come you're not deciding how many screens are going to that press for tomorrow and putting them all in a rack, and then you're just pushing it like a shopping cart over? Which is easier? Okay? Well, it requires you to be more organized and use your noggin a little bit. What are we doing? What screens do we need to burn first? Right? How does your screen guy know to do that? Does he have a list? Is there a way that you're prioritizing that for him? You have to think about this as like an architect, right? An architect designs the house, right? And the carpenter builds it. The electrician puts in the thing. The window guy puts in the windows that we decide. So your production management team, some of you guys are production managers, or the architect, you're going to design how the production crews work, and they're just going to execute your plan. Okay? That is how you move faster. You don't let the people running the floor make the decisions. You make the decisions for them, and they just execute whatever your plan is. And that way, they're just doing what you ask them to do. Does that make sense? Now, you don't have to be jerky about it, okay? Just saying. So we want to have a mindset, company culture, of helping people downstream from us, okay? So where you work, there's people that rely on you over here for that information or whatever you're doing, right? So here are some crazy examples. So the people in the screen room rely on the screen print operators to card all the ink out of the screens before it goes to the screen room for reclaiming. Otherwise, there's a giant fight about how much ink is still on the screen. Who's had to listen to that fight? Right? How come your press operators just can't clean up after themselves? Okay, what are you, 6? I gotta be your mom, tell you to clean your room? Okay? So we want to help each other downstream from us. So the art department, and some art departments, they print off the job sheet and the color copy, right? And then the guy from the screen room's got to come over and get it to burn the screens. How come we can't get the art department to deliver that information to the screen room so the guy in the screen room doesn't have to go anywhere? Right? So just think about how your teams, who is next in line with what's going to happen. So does production bring all the stuff that's produced to shipping, or does shipping have to go get it? Which is easier if you're the shipping guy? Right? So what we want is people downstream from us pushing the thing forward, just right over here. Okay? We can only go as fast as our slowest part of our process or our worst employee. Okay? So if you don't have good employees, why are they working for you? Quit. I mean, right now we have employees that we want to hire more people. We can't find them. We'll just do with that guy, right? Well, sometimes that causes more problems than it helps. Okay, anybody experience that? Because I have. You? Yeah. So, come on, clicker. Here's an example. Who tapes their screens? Do you dog ear the corner of the thing so it's easier to pull off? Or do you have to sit there and pick at it with your fingernail? Or worse, the guy in the screen room breaks out the putty knife. What do you think happens to the screen then when they poke a hole in it? Okay? So what we want is, this is just one tiny little example. Bend over, dog ear the tape so you just grab the thing and rip it off. Okay? And of course, Trilock users will say, you don't even need registration marks. So look to upgrade. All right, quicker. Here's an example of a shop in Philly, actually. The screen room's right here. And then what they're doing is they burn the screens, and they put them in these boxes until it gets full. And then there's a rack that's actually over here on the other side of this yellow line, and that gets filled up going to the press. So this is kind of like purgatory for screens. we're waiting to have enough to fill up a rack. And this is how they do it. They're making it easier for this guy. So each one of these boxes is for a press. So this is just their system. They just chunk it in, okay? So this is teamwork. So here's a shop that actually I managed, right? So this girl's carting the ink, putting in the bucket, right? And there's actually, out of view, there's a rack somewhere, whatever, that it's a low boy, and all the screens go on that, and then in the afternoon, that rack's going to have 10, 15, 20 screens on it, and that goes to the screen room, and we make one trip. But there isn't any ink on that screen, so it's easy to reclaim. In fact, in this shop here, we didn't use masking tape because we used the GSF screen caulk thing. So let's talk about the work order, because to me, that's the key to doing things quickly is instruction. So we want the correct information, right? So it's easy to check. Everybody knows exactly what to do. We want to answer any possible question that could come up, okay? Any possible question should be in there. And here's what I don't want. I don't want the salesperson's 10 pages of emails from the client stapled together so the production guy's got to read all this crap, okay? That's a big fat no. What I want is bullet points, easy to understand, so a 4-year-old or a German Shepherd could understand it. That's what we want, okay? We want to give art details. I want you to print a color copy. Yes, I know the color is different because it comes from a color printer, but if my artist transposes the numbers, which happens, so instead of printing 468, it's 486, we just mixed the wrong color, right? We didn't have a color copy, so nobody would know what the real color is, and nobody's really paying attention because it's Friday and we're all thinking about happy hour. That's why stuff goes out wrong. But if you had a color copy, you'd go, oh, that's the wrong color. Why is that? I had a press crew, for some reason the artist transposed the numbers, and we did an American flag, and they printed the blue field in purple. And they just let it go. And I'm like, you didn't think that was wrong? He's like, well, it's on the page. I'm like, come on, okay? So there wasn't a color copy. That's the reason why we make these changes. So if the American flag's in purple, hey, we know it's wrong, okay? So here's a shot of Quincy and Josh going over some artwork. And this is how I train people to do stuff. And you'll notice that they're looking at it upside down, okay? The reason we look at stuff upside down is because when we look at it right side up, sometimes we're not paying attention of how it looks, how many logos, what the colors are, or whatever. But when it's upside down to you, it's obvious if, let's say, this is for McDonald's, that the McDonald's M wasn't there. And what they're doing, I teach everybody to use their index finger like you're in second grade. And what they do is they go, logo, logo. Thing, yes. Date, yes. Big angry bird, yes. Is it the right colors? Yes. And they're matching it to what it's supposed to be based on what? Based on the color copy. And if this was on 3 colors of shirts, red, blue, and orange, it would be 3 color copies showing red, blue, and orange, so these people would know exactly what they're supposed to hit. Does that make sense? It's about communicating the expectations about what you're supposed to do. So nothing is missing. So here's Quincy getting a job approved, and one of the things I always have my managers do is ask whoever's printing it questions. And the questions could be, hey, after you're done printing the left chest, what happens? The correct answer could be, it's going to press 2 and are printing the back, or whatever, right? Ask questions. Hey, how many pieces is this? Right? How many, what are we doing? You start asking questions, and this person should know the answer, okay? The press operator should know. The whole press crew should know, frankly, okay? So, use real dates. How many people pad their dates on their production schedule because they don't trust production to get it out on time? Okay? Stop doing that. When you pad the dates, everybody knows you're padding the dates. It's like the person who sets their alarm, their clock 10 minutes fast, and then they got to subtract 10 minutes every time they look at the watch. Oh, I got to subtract 10 minutes. It's really, 120. It's not 130. You're doing that with the dates. So instead of making that Band-Aid, why don't you fix the real problem, which is the fact that you can't get your production schedule on time because of whatever the reasons why it's causing it to back up. That's where the real work should be, okay? I'm a big fan of real dates, okay? And by the way, if you guys were doing this, the ship date, let's just say, is going to be September the 1st, which is next Wednesday. 100% of your production should be done on the 31st. So the only thing left to do is to ship it on the 1st. And ship means it's FedEx, it's UPS, it's the sales guys delivering it, the customer's picking it up, a camel's going to come, and we're going to throw it on the back. It doesn't matter how it leaves, but it's leaving on the 1st. Okay? So why is using real date important? So you don't get mixed up. Train on using the real date. Why is having all the information correct important? So you don't get messed up, okay? So why use fake dates and why have erroneous or missing information on stuff? If you have these two problems, you have to fix it in order to move faster, okay? So here's that same shop that we saw earlier with the boxes, and these are all ready to go onto a little rack to go to a press. So downtime is a cancer in your shop. So downtime is when you're not producing stuff. So if you go out onto your floor, right, and that screen printing press or that embroidery machine or that DTG machine or that heat press or laser etcher or whatever it is, if it's not working, it's costing you money. That downtime, you should be measuring that. What is it? So if we think about our average day, 8-hour day, right? Minus 30-minute lunch and two 15-minute breaks, it's about 420 minutes. I can tell you most of the time from the shop analysis that I've done, most of the time we're only printing and using about 40 or 50% of that at best. Because we spend lots of time, if this was the work order, we go, hey, I don't understand these instructions. What's this mean? What's it mean? I don't know what this means. And they're in the front office. Who here has had somebody this last week or two come to the front office about a job because they don't understand something? Yeah, lots of people. And the reason for that is because you're not putting the detailed information in the work order. And now they don't know what to do, so they have to stop what they're doing to get the right answer because they don't want to screw up. So I want you to start, I recommend everybody gets a whiteboard. I love whiteboards. Okay? And once you get a whiteboard, and then you start cataloging all these issues when they come up. And the reason why I like a whiteboard, because you can make a spreadsheet, but guess what? You got to open the spreadsheet to look at it. When it's a whiteboard in your office or in the front or in the production, and it says ding, 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 you can't get away from that. And it doesn't come off until you fix it. And better is you assign it to somebody with a date. I want you to fix that by Wednesday the 1st. That's your job. And you delegate it to them, and it's their job to fix whatever it is. Order the part, get the thing, find the shirts, whatever, right? Doesn't matter. Their job is to do that. Now, when they do it, it comes off the board, right? And that could be calling the client. There could be a million things, right? But what we want to do is we want to solve these problems. So here's a job. You notice the 2 colors of shirts. Here's the thing. It also has white. These are the left chests. You know, it's on different mock-ups. Everybody knows exactly what to do. Another completely different shop saving their samples. Another key thing on downtime is we're waiting on another department. We're waiting on the art department. We're waiting on sales. We're waiting on receiving to receive. We have 30 boxes from UPS, and we're supposed to be printing that job, but they haven't checked them in yet. Who's had that problem? I have. How come receiving doesn't know what to do first? Are you giving them here's the list. Please find these things because we need to run them today. And they get that before UPS backs up. So when the UPS driver backs up, they're looking on the packing slip for that purchase order from that company so they can immediately receive it and they can run that to press 2 so you can run the job before the client gets there, right? The easiest part of this industry is decorating. It's logistics that suck, okay? It's finding enough shirts for their order right now, right? Wouldn't you agree? How many people for like 100-piece order has spent 3 hours online trying to find shirts, right? I hear you. I don't have the answer for that, sorry. Who knows what this thing is? You got to say it louder. Pallet, that's right. So changing the paper on your pallets. How many people do that on their press? Instead of printing shirts, what if you had a duplicate set of platens that's on a cart that you wheel up, you switch the platens out, and just like a NASCAR pit crew, somebody else does that work, and guess what you're doing? You're now printing shirts instead of wasting time changing your paper. Okay? Now granted, you got to spend the $2,000 on the extra set of platens, but if you annualize how much it costs you in downtime, how many people have said, my press is worth what an hour? Is it worth $100 an hour, $500 an hour? And you guys estimate what you're trying to earn with your equipment per hour? You guys have done that? You've got this equipment. How much per hour is that machine worth to you? Let's just say, the old school way of doing it, by the way, is you take the people that work on there, let's say you're a press operator, a puller, and a catcher, and let's just say they all make $10 an hour, which is really low, but let's just say that for sake of discussion. That's $30. The old school way of doing that is to take that labor and multiply it by 10, so it's $300 an hour, and that's how the pricing schedule would be built. That's how they used to do it, right? So if you were to say that screen printing press was worth $300 an hour, it's easy to say, I just spent 20 minutes changing paper. It's easy to calculate how much that costs you. So if you were to analyze how many times a year we change the paper, right? I bet another set of platens is way cheaper than whatever that comes out to be, right? So how are you making these decisions, right? That's something to think about. Right. So how many people make mistakes? Right? I do. I make mistakes all the time. Just ask my wife. She'll tell you. Right? So if we didn't have enough time to do it over, how come we didn't spend enough time to do it right the first time? So I want you guys to start tracking your mistakes. Who here tracks their mistakes? Also on that spreadsheet is how we fixed it. What new policy, process, tool, gadget, thing did we get to fix it so that doesn't happen again? It's great that you're tracking that stuff, but unless you're fixing these problems, right, you're just spinning your wheels. So let's figure out what it takes to solve that. So if we didn't have the right information and we didn't know how to print, or with the embroidery machine bird nested or whatever causes these issues, how can we prevent it from happening again so we eliminate that? Okay, what do you need to do to fix the problem? And if you don't know the answer, there's people on this planet who have the answer. And they're not in a Facebook group, by the way, because those answers are usually wrong. I'm just telling you. All right, so this is a jig I made for heat press to do numbers. Instead of going, oh, is it straight or whatever, I just took a piece of cardboard and cut out a hole and made it so it lines up, and then you take the piece of cardboard away and heat press and you're done. It takes 2 seconds. Okay? Because we kept having numbers that were all cattywampus. So that's the reason why this was invented. So my son, Jack, who's just started his senior year in high school, he'll tell you, my favorite phrase is, if you aren't early, hold on, you're running late. Okay? So let's go back to some pictures. These are 2 different shops. These are screens. Going where? Who can tell me? Where are they going? Going to a press. When are they going? They're for tomorrow, so they're going today. Right? 2 different shops.